Hello guys, happy Tuesday and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, yes, we are talking about my £10 a week food budget challenge. So hopefully most of you guys would have seen my last food budget challenge video, and that's really where I went to Lidl. And again, my challenge was to spend only £10. So if you haven't watched that video already, I will of course make sure I link that up here for you and in the description below so you can check it out. But today we are talking about a different supermarket. So I just want to walk through it and basically let you guys know how I did. So what I first did was actually go over to Instagram and I did a poll asking you guys what supermarket you wanted me to visit, and the options were basically between Asda and Tesco, and most of you chose Asda, so that was the winning supermarket and that was where I was going to go. And in case you're not actually from the UK and you have no idea what I'm talking about when I say Asda, this is basically a store that actually used to be owned by Walmart, obviously in the US, and now I think it's owned by a British company. So I would say in terms of the size of supermarkets, it might be similar to Tesco. Obviously Tesco is a lot more international, but in terms of the UK, it's probably similar to that level, and Sainsbury's as well, for example. So I just wanted to give a bit of context because I know not everyone is from the UK. So like I mentioned in my previous food budget challenge video, I did actually make a list, and the reason why I did that is because first of all, I always like to plan, you know, what my meals are in terms of breakfast, lunch and dinner, but then also I wanted to just have a bit of an understanding in terms of what the prices were like as well. So I did go over to the Asda website and I was just basically looking at prices and seeing what was cheap and what wasn't, because I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit hesitant in terms of whether I would actually be able to beat this challenge. So yeah, let me just walk through what I bought for breakfast, lunch and dinner, and then just talk through how much I spent in total. So of course I've got my receipt here and we're just gonna walk through everything I bought. So the first thing I was looking for was what I was gonna eat for breakfast. Now for me, oats is something that I eat basically every day. I absolutely love it, but what I decided is that I was going to get something different because I kind of wanted to just change it up, and you know, I knew oats would probably be quite affordable anyway. So what I decided to do was I was actually going to look for cereal instead. So I was trying to see how much their cereal costs online, and I don't think it had all the products. So for me, I really wanted to spend less than £1 ideally, because obviously with breakfast it meant that I would get the cereal, milk, and I would also want to have fruit on the side. So in terms of the actual cereal, I actually went to the store and I came across an Asda Smart Price cereal which was called Wheat Bisque. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but I think it's called Wheat Bisque, and it was a 24 pack. Now I tend to eat things like Weetabix anyway. I really enjoy it, and I usually get the Lidl or the Aldi version, which is not Weetabix, but to be honest, it does the job, and I think it's still relatively healthy from my perspective. So I decided to get that, and to be honest, I was quite surprised at the price as well. And what it meant was that I would be able to have maybe 2 or 3 of them each morning. So of course I was elated and decided to buy a box. Now that actually cost me only 74 pence, so it was under £1, so happy days. And then of course I went over to get my milk. So I tend to drink soy milk, and again I was actually quite surprised at the price. So I did manage to get 2 lots of soya milk, so I actually bought 2 rather than 1, so they were 62 pence each. Now the reason why I bought 2 is because one of them were going to be for my cereal, and 2 of them I was probably going to make some scrambled eggs one of these days. So I decided to buy 2 just to make sure that I had enough milk essentially. So yeah, based on the price, I think it was relatively cheap. The only other thing that I was also looking for was to just have a fruit with that, because I usually do tend to have fruit with my cereal or oats or whatever. So rather than getting blueberries this time, I did decide to get something else, and what I decided to get were of course bananas. So that's something that I tend to eat anyway. So with the bananas, I actually ended up getting loose bananas rather than the packet, because loose was actually cheaper, and I could see it was about 73 pence per kilogram. So mine actually came to about 75 pence because my bananas came to about 1.025 kilograms or something like that. So that's really what breakfast entailed, and yeah, I was pretty happy with that because it meant that I didn't actually spend that much money. And if you're liking this video so far, then feel free to give me a thumbs up, as it really does help to support this channel, plus it's free. Then I also decided that I was going to get a couple of fruits as well. So I actually decided that I was going to get some pears because I do like pears, and they were actually quite affordable as well. So for the pack of pears that I got, it was about 55 pence, so I was pretty happy with that. I think there was about 5 or 6 in the packet, so for me that was going to last me the week. And then what I had planned to do was actually get, you know, some either easy peelers or tangerines or satsumas, whichever one was cheaper basically. But what I did is I actually came across across a section in Asda where they were basically showing their sort of reduced to clear aisle, and oh my gosh guys, I was so excited when I went to this aisle because there were so many things that were reduced to clear that, you know, they'd obviously slashed the price, and so I decided to just take a look and see if I could get anything, and I was actually very happy because I did get a couple of stuff. So the first thing I did was get a packet of grapes because that had also been reduced, so I was very happy because again, I'm a massive fan of grapes and I didn't think I'd be able to afford it on this current budget, but essentially because it was reduced to clear, I was able to afford it on this budget. So I then ended up getting a packet of grapes and that cost me 46 pence. So that was even cheaper than the packet of pears, so I was very happy with that. And actually, if you look at the packet, you could see that those grapes would usually cost about 99 pence. So for me, I was very happy because that was under half price, so of course I was going to get it. But that wasn't the only thing I ended up getting from that reduced aisle, so I'll talk about that a bit later because that's really where dinner comes in. Then came lunch. So most of you will know that I absolutely love eggs. I just really eat it every day. I just can't live without eggs, to be honest. So of course that had to be my lunch, and so what I decided was that for lunch I would just have some toast and scrambled eggs. So I was able to get a pack of 15 eggs for £1.18. So again, I know that is very similar to Lidl prices, so I was actually really surprised at that. Again, I think it was like the Asda Smart price, so of course I bought my pack of 15 eggs, which is great because it meant that I would probably be able to have like 2 eggs a day, which is amazing for me. And then I went over to get my bread as well. Again, I was looking for the cheapest bread possible. I'm not gonna lie, quality goes out of the window when you've only got a £10 food budget. So for me, I ended up getting wholemeal bread because again, that's something that I eat, but it meant that I only spent about 58 pence. And of course with my scrambled eggs, it just meant that I would use my second carton of soya milk that I bought before. So in terms of dinner, I actually decided that I was going to have tuna pasta. Now the reason why I did this is because the last time I did the food budget challenge, the only real protein I was able to have was eggs, and I just felt like I did not have enough protein. So I decided that I was actually going to see if I can get another form of protein, and so I realized that maybe I could potentially get tuna instead. So basically, not only would I be able to have protein for lunch, but I'd also be able to have it for dinner as well. So I decided that I was just basically going to make some tuna and pasta concoction sort of dinner thing. So for me, I tend to experiment sometimes anyway, so I really didn't mind doing this. So the first thing of course I went to do was go and buy my tuna. It actually took me some time trying to find the cheapest tuna because again, I was trying to look at how much it cost per grams or per kilogram, and there was just a lot of tuna options, to be honest. So again, I managed to find the cheapest one, which was of course the Asda Smart price one as well. So I decided I was going to get 4 cans of tuna, and that essentially came up to about £2.36. So I think it was about 59 pence per can. Of course with the tuna I would want to have pasta, so I did go and get pasta as well, and that only cost me about 45 pence as well for the packet. So again, relatively cheap in my eyes because that was probably going to last me the whole week. And so with the tuna pasta, this is really where this reduced aisle actually just made me so excited because I didn't think I would be able to afford to get onions for my tuna and pasta meal, and so I was a little bit upset because I absolutely love onions. However, when I went to this reduced aisle, I actually came across a packet of onions. So in terms of the price, it actually only cost me, guys, 12 pence. 12 pence for a packet of onions. Guys, if you know like how excited I was, I'm pretty sure people must have been looking at me like I'm crazy because I was honestly like, oh my gosh, I get to have some onions in my dinner. So of course I bought that because I knew that I couldn't afford a whole packet of different onions, and that 12 pence meant that I didn't really spend that much money. So I was very excited. And then with that, I was thinking of getting spinach to have with the pasta, but again, I saw that spinach was slightly more expensive, so I decided to get kale. And actually after the last time, I quite like kale. I mean, I thought I would absolutely hate it and that it would just really not taste great, but I quite liked it, especially if you boil it a little bit and just have that kind of crunchiness and softness first, and then obviously put that into your meal. To be honest, it was actually quite nice. So I decided that I was going to get kale, and that was only going to cost me 60 pence for that packet. And then also with that, I decided to go and get frozen veg as well. So this was kind of a mix of like broccoli, cauliflower and carrots. I was kind of in two minds because I was thinking of getting frozen sweet corn instead of the other mixed veg, but I decided to go with the other mixed veg instead. In hindsight, I probably would have gone with the sweet corn, and the reason why I was thinking that is because actually for lunch, if I decided that I wanted to have something different or maybe have eggs for dinner instead, what I essentially could have done is just had like a tuna and sweet corn sandwich, and then obviously have some type of omelette for dinner instead. So I kind of wish I did get the sweet corn, but obviously I didn't, and I got the mixed veg instead, and so that only came up to about 92 pence, and actually was relatively cheaper than the sweet corn. I think the sweet corn was £1, so essentially I was saving about 8 pence. Now obviously the one thing I would say is that I did season it. So if that's cheating a little bit, I'm sorry, but I had to just season my food, and it actually really tasted quite nice. And you know, you don't really need too much seasoning for that as well. And for me, it was relatively healthy. I mean, my mum even liked it as well, and she was like, how are you gonna have that for dinner? And then when I made it and she actually tasted it, she was very surprised, and she was like, oh my gosh, this tastes really nice. I could genuinely have this for dinner. I'm not gonna lie, the best thing for me was the onions, because once you start to caramelize those onions and then put that with your meal, it's just wonderful. Now at this point in time, I wasn't entirely sure in terms of whether I'd actually gone over budget, but to be honest guys, I'm not even gonna lie, the popcorn was screaming my name, okay? So whether I was over budget or on budget, I really didn't care. I needed to get that popcorn, especially because they were doing a sale on Butterkist sweet and salted popcorn. So for me, I just got too excited and I just had to buy it. Whether I was going over budget or not, I honestly didn't care. So I decided to get that, and it was a pack of 6 for £1, so I honestly just had to get it. So I actually ended up getting about 18 items from my food shop, and the total came to, wait for it, £11.75. So obviously I did go over the £10 budget, but again, I'm not gonna lie, I had to go and get that popcorn. Obviously if I didn't get the popcorn, then I would have been just slightly over, so £10.75. but to be honest, I was actually very surprised. I genuinely thought this would probably come to about £14 to £15, so to actually get this for £11.75 was absolutely mad to me. And actually it made me realize, if you're quite creative in terms of the food that you want to make, and you're also trying to look for those reduced aisles or maybe the Asda Smart price, you can essentially maybe get a weekly food budget for between £10 to £15, I would say. You may not just get it for £10. Obviously if I wasn't eating protein like tuna for example, then I would have come under the £10, but really to be honest, I was very happy with that, and essentially it did actually last me the whole week. And yeah, I was just very happy with it and survived the week. So if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, how do you think I did with my Asda food budget challenge? I do post every Tuesday and Friday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys on Friday.